What up? What up? Good morning, people.
This is the Vajata Broadcast Show.
T-
Timpin
Timpin.
Salone. Yeah, we gotta do that.
How you doing, brother Jabrisky?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Man, can't complain. Just blessed to be in the presence of greatness. Can I ask you a question?
Yep, go ahead.
It's no secret that the WNBA has grown in popularity recently. Do you think that the WNBA will be more popular than the NBA in 5 years?
I don't know. I think it's still gonna be. It'll probably still be the NBA just because how quick of a head start the NBA has had as far as like the years of existence. But I think the WNBA will definitely continue to grow more popular as the years go on. I think it's just gonna be tough because I think the WNBA they're in like their I think they're in like the 20s, like the second decade as far as how long they've been going. Or is it 20? Might be close to 30, but they'll be probably by then they'll be around 30 years. But the NBA, they're in like their 70s, about to be in the 80th year of existence. So I think because of that time gap, as far as like the head start that the NBA has had, and the stars already established there and they're following, I think it'll still be the NBA that'll be more popular. But I think the WNBA will still continue to rise over the years.
Might disagree with you on that one. I think that sports are a talent-driven league, and I think it's a business at the end of the day. So I think our generation is always looking for something new and refreshing, and I think that the WNBA provides that new and refreshing taste. I think that if you look at the talent today that the WNBA has, I think that you're seeing a growing in popularity, whether that's from jersey sales, ticket sales. I think that you can argue who's spearheaded that. I won't get into that conversation. That's a different conversation. But I think that at the end of the day, I think that the WNBA will always grow more in popularity, and I think it's a business at the end of the day. I think whoever makes the dollars will grow in popularity. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think the next thing I think for the WNBA is both growing, both here in the United States, but also globally. I think they already do that now, even like with some of the players they are playing internationally during their off season from away from the WNBA. So I think it's definitely going to be a rise. I think it's just going to be tough just compared to how already established the NBA is and the stars that they have there and their following. But I think it's definitely going to be increasing by good increments in the next couple of years. But I think probably the NBA will probably still have, just because of the head start that they've had, more popularity overall.
You going to any other games this year?
I just see. I think I'm thinking about possibly going to one. I've been to a couple WNBA games over the years, but those have been pretty cool. What about you?
I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to, as I get older, trying to experience more kind of live entertainment, so to speak. So I'll definitely check out a few games. But I was reading an article that the ticket prices now are kind of more fluctuating. They're kind of more on par with the WNBA, but I could be wrong though.
The WNBA tickets you're saying
Yeah, the WNBA
the
tickets. I
price?
think before. Yeah, I think before it was like maybe like 30 or $40 to go to a game. Now I think, well, I guess it depends on who you're going to see and kind of the matchup. But now it's kind of 200 or 300. So I may just have to catch it on replay or catch it on catch it on broadcast though. But do you think that because of the new rise in popularity, do you think that the NBA and the WNBA should have the same level of compensation for their talent?
Yeah, I think the main thing is the revenue that's shared because I think the NBA is making a lot more also because they've been established for a while and also they play longer throughout the
Right.
year. So I think overall, I think and also because of the revenue that's already generated, I think we saw somewhere online. I think the NBA is making I think around like 11 billion or like the billions annually. Then the WNBA still, I think it's around 200 million in the millions annually. So I think the main thing that you want is equality and as far as like revenue sharing. So I think as your leagues continue to advance and popularize, you get more money. That's where you have more of the revenue share. So I think as long as there's on both the NBA and WNBA equal sharing of revenue, I think that's all you can ask for. But I think because of the difference in the amount of money that they're making, it's not going to be the same amount per se for each league.
Yeah, it's always we've had this conversation in previous episodes as far as like how business and revenue sharing, and it's always like a delicate balance. I think that more of the play style and how the game is played affects the revenue share because I think that more of an offensive league is more of what the consumer will want, and I think the WNBA is more of an inside out kind of reminiscent to the '90s basketball game. It's a little more slower paced, not as high scoring. So I think it just depends on the style of play that the product that the WNBA produces is going to affect kind of the revenue. But I think that the future looks bright. I'll say that in
Hmm.
that department.
Yeah, I think I also saw during the WNBA offseason, there's two WNBA players. I think one of those Brianna Stewart. They're starting a new league. It's a 3-on-3 league for players that can play during the offseason. There are WNBA, probably people also around the world. But I think they're saying that's going to be the highest paying women's sports league as far as like the per year salary that you get. So I think that's what they're offering. So it's going to be a good way for because a lot of the WNBA players they have to once their season's over play internationally just to make as much money or even more money that they make in the WNBA because I think it's like maybe like a lot. I mean, 3 or 4 times the amount of money they make just because the season's longer, and those leagues have probably been around for a longer period of time, so they've had more of a chance to establish themselves and grow revenue over the years. So I think it's going to be cool to see what that league is going to be like. But I think yeah, overall, you want just equality as far as what the revenue is that you're earning and what the league is generating, what percentage the players are getting from that.
Do you know if that league is going to be similar to Ice Cube's league, like the Big Three league, or is it something totally different?
I think it's similar. I think it's just going to be in one central location, though. I think it's supposed to be in Miami. I have to look up
Okay.
more information about it, but it's basically
Okay.
3-on-3, but it's full court instead of half court. So
Gotcha. Okay.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, I think you're seeing that with today as far as like the kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. I think this generation and the futures that are going to follow it, it's always new and innovative. I think you're definitely going to see a lot of different leagues, a lot of different play styles, and I think you're just going to see a lot more. The normal kind of conventional way that you kind of digest sports is going to be a little different. I think as you've seen with the new TV NBA deals, you're going to see certain streaming services have this game, certain streaming services have that game. So I think it's going to be a different kind of landscape of how the consumer digests sports. I just always want to just, champion evolution and the creativity that's to come. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely with technology and things on the rise and continue to evolve, we'll see different ways where people will be able to, like you're saying, stream or watch or interact with the game. I think I saw something that was like during the NBA All-Star game, they're doing like AI stuff and VR stuff where if somebody wanted to watch a game, but like Spider-Man themed, it was like it turned the whole game to like a whole like cartoon. So it's just bringing new and innovative ways for different people to consume the content of the league. So I think we'll definitely see in the future just a lot of innovation and change to how people consume sports.
Do you think that the innovation is and change is going to ruin how people digest the sports or kind of confuse the way the consumer watches the sports?
I don't think so. I think as long as you still have your traditional way that most people will be able to access it, because I think with those things, those are going to be added on services and things that you're going to have to
Ah,
pay
gotcha.
more money for. So I think as long as you still have that main source of, oh, it's on this channel or streaming on this service, I think as long as you have that, but also just include added bonuses, the different ways you can watch and stream and just consume that, whether it be a game or highlights or different YouTube videos or stuff like that. So I think as long as you have that established foundation of the regular things that have been going on with how to watch the games, but just as an added bonus, different things you can look to. I think that's the main thing.
Well said. Well said.
Continuing along this topic, we've definitely seen a rise in women's college basketball, especially with this past year's NCAA tournament. And I guess a two-part question, I guess, going forward and in the next 5 years, which one do you think is going to be more popular compared to men's college basketball and women's college basketball?
That's a good question. I think they're both going to be on the rise with the NIL deals. I think the advertising dollars that the players are going to be able to make demonstrates a higher product or a better You kind of know more of the players on a more personal level. I think that if you see your favorite athlete or your favorite player on a different advertisement or commercial, I think it kind of draws you closer. So like the best way I'll answer your question, I would probably say that's a tough one. I can see them both kind of going on the rise, but I may give the slight edge to the WNBA because I think it's more, or the women's college basketball, because I think we're always looking for something new and refreshing. I think men's college basketball, whether it's the Pac-10 or the Big Ten, we've always kind of been drawn to those kind of matchups, even like March Madness. But I think that just the newness of something that's new and refreshing, I might give the slight edge to women's college basketball. How about yourself?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with women's college basketball has definitely been on the rise over the years. I think the big difference is because for the women's game, they have to stay in school for a couple years. I think it's at least 3. They have that establishment, that foundation where you're able to see players grow and evolve in their game. And we see them start as a freshman and just going on those trials and tribulations and see them in the tournament year after year and really establish and build themselves. Whereas the men's game is kind of more encouraged. You're there for a year and you if you're good enough, you're able to enter the NBA draft. So I think we definitely see with the college game as far as the men's side, it's a quicker turnaround where year after year we get introduced to new players. So I think we don't really get a chance to really know them as well compared to the women's game where we see them evolve over the years and really develop and build their programs where we have a lot of continuity and we see, okay, that team, they are basically returning back most of the same players there. So we see building rivalries in different atmospheres and continuing to build those fan bases individually and the league altogether. So I think definitely I see the women's game for basketball, for college basketball, really on the rise. And I think they'll probably be the most popular, including right now and also in the future.
Not to do with it. I like that word. I'm gonna steal that one from you. But with the NIL deals and all the popularity that the women's game is going to be getting, do you think that if someone is the face of the organization, do you think that that breeds jealousy from other players in that field or any players from other sports?
I think it can be, but it's also you got to recognize their game too. So I think you see because their style of play and how they play, you got to at least respect their still because it's going to be healthy competition. But I feel like there'll be more of understanding. Okay, this person they're really like one of the best. Like for example, Juju Watkins, she's going to be continue to be one of the best in the women's college basketball game. Her and Paige Beckers are probably the 2 headliners right now that'll be considered the faces of women's college basketball. So I think it's kind of known within sports within the league you're going to have those people are going to be perceived as the face. And I think it's just naturally going to just continue to build up more competition. And like we see with different games, whether it be like an upset alert where a team takes someone down, I think it's also gives the opportunity for that underdog to really come on the rise. So I think it breeds healthy competition, but I think also once you are perceived as that face, you really have to put your best foot forward because a lot of the teams are going to be coming for that spot too.
Yeah, they hated on Jesus, so I think that jealousy and envy is always something that's, it's always going to be ingrained in human nature. I think that sometimes everybody, I think, wants progress and evolution, but I think sometimes if they're not the face of progress or not the reason for progress, sometimes they could subconsciously or even consciously get in the way of it. So I think that whenever you are seeing something that's progressing and something that's refreshing, I think that the goal is to always focus on what's new and what's the blessing that's going to bring from that. So it'll be interesting to watch. I'll definitely say that.
Mm-hmm.
And then continuing that conversation of impact and influence and popularity of the game, who do you think had more impact on a league, Mr. Victor Wembanyama or Mrs. Caitlin Clark?
Mm-hmm. That's a very difficult question. Both of them were just the number 1 picks this year. I guess, well, technically Victor last year, but he played his rookie year already, and Caitlin's starting rookie year right now. I said they impacted in different ways as far as popularity and bringing more eyes to the sport in the game. I think Caitlin Clark has that. But I guess impact as far as maybe dominating, as far as like the actual play of the game. I think maybe Victor just because it's gonna be hard because he's 7'5", so there's not really much you can do with him. And then with Caitlin Clark, I think it's more her game will probably more help spread the popularity. And I think it might be a little hard to dominate just because of her size and there's going to be a lot of people that are around their size, but Victor Wembanyama, he's 7'5". There's not really much you can do with that, depending on how talented he can be or how his potential will eventually play out. So I think there's different ways you can view that question as far as impact. I would say if we're talking about just bringing more eyes to the game and overall popularity and just bringing more viewership, I would say probably Caitlin Clark. But I think as far as impact, as far as the game itself and dominating, I'd probably say Victor. But I guess even with Caitlin Clark, if she is able to really develop the 3-point shot and really be able to, like, if she was able to do what she did in college in the WNBA and really expound on that in the coming years, it's going to be difficult. So I can see either or. I think it's a good answer, but I think you can kind of answer the impact in different ways. What would you say?
Yeah, I would agree. I think for Miss Clark, I think as far as growing the game and bringing more popularity and eyes and revenue dollars to the league, I think I would give the slight edge to Miss Clark. But I think as far as impact on the league, as far as seeing a style of play and a difference in play style, I would say I would give the nod to Mr. Wembanyama. I think, as you were saying, the height, the length, and just the ability to score the ball in different ways and kind of being a more bigger guard, but moving in a bigger forward and moving in a more guards like body. I think that's something kind of different. I think typically the kind of cliche is that, he's kind of a 2K generated, type of player. So I think it's just seeing that in real time and having a dominating effect on the league, I think is always kind of the impact in his nature. But I think they both had different types of impact on the league, both in a positive way as far as growing the league and seeing what's to come. So I think the future looks bright for just, sports and everything in general. So I'm just looking forward to watching and seeing the greatness that the world has to present.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think with the impact that Mr. Wembanyama has had on the league, more GMs are going to start looking for more 7'5" forwards with guard-like skills? Do you think that's going to transition how a lot of teams kind of look to draft, or do you think they're still going to use kind of the same mold?
I would say they're probably going to look for those type of players, but those players are kind of tough to find. There's not that many. There are 7'5" that can really be like a guard, shoot and dribble like a guard. But I think we've kind of seen it over the years where a lot of more 7-footers are have to shoot or know how to dribble, really like that, and really be able to put their team on their back and play like a guard. So I think we've been seeing that over the years, whether it be with Giannis or KD, back when he was drafted in the late 2000s. So I think we've kind of had that develop over time. But I think now we're seeing those like over 7-footers. It used to be, oh yeah, if you had a 7-footer, now you get 7-footer and over that can do similar to what Victor can do. So I think we've kind of already been starting that, but I think now we're getting to a whole nother level where you have someone that's 7'5" that could do basically everything that KD can do, but also have that defensive impact where he was already first team all NBA defense. So that's just crazy to do in your first year in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think the rules and the gameplay kind of correlate to kind of the advancement and kind of the success that Mr. Wembanyama has had. I think that, kind of the more, I don't know the right way to phrase it, but a more offensive friendly type league, I think kind of helps the success of kind of 7-footers in that guard like skills. I think that you're going to see going forward, you're going to see the position 1 through 5. Everybody's going to be able to dribble the ball. Everybody's going to be able to shoot the ball. So if you look at the 90s kind of style of play, I think you have more position style players that kind of will more just kind of focus on one type of specialty. But I think now what you're seeing with the more offensive friendly rules, I think you're going to see more just guard like play and everybody's going to be able to get 40 any given night. So I think that it's just going to be a more high scoring kind of fast paced type of league. And I think that maybe that approach that the NBA have is maybe trickle down to kind of the WNBA and even the college game. I think that's going to maybe affect that. But what do you think?
Yeah. We'll see if there's maybe like a 6'6" or 6'7" WNBA player that could. That would be crazy to see.
It's coming. Trust me, it's coming. It's coming. The game is being more international, and I think that especially with the revenue that these different leagues are getting, I think that people are more at a younger age, kind of breeding their kids. Or I don't know if breeding is the correct terminology, but putting their kids in basketball at a more younger age so they can kind of grow and develop in more of that style of league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then speaking of that, I think right now we're definitely seeing a lot of like the AAU culture as far as like people are playing one sport, whether it be basketball or another sport year round, and we're seeing if they might have like a whole weekend. They might have like 3 games in one day or something like that, or like
Right.
a whole weekend full of tournaments. I think a lot of the games we're seeing, I think the common theme is people are getting injured a lot, especially as they get older and playing in those professional leagues. I think, do you think there's a problem, or you think there's a correlation between all the like AAU style play throughout the years and when they eventually get into either college basketball or the professional level, all the injuries? You think that plays a part of the AAU culture?
Yeah, I think that, sports is just the fundamental nature of a sports is just a child's game that we used to play kind of in the backyard type of game. And I think that you're seeing a business model trying to monopolize everything that's great about that sport. But unfortunate thing about sports is injuries always have been a part of the sports. And if you've seen, stars that have had great talent and great abilities, but unfortunately due to injuries, they kind of were cut short. So I think that's the kind of the catch 22 to actually having sports is just the injury prone. So to answer your question, I think that, dieting and just technology and just the different science and medical research that we have today is greater. So I think that there's no foolproof way to kind of eliminate sports, I would say. But I think that there is a correlating factor. I would just suggest everybody to just listen to their doctors and just kind of be mindful of their body and know when just to say, okay, cool, today I'm gonna rest, today I'm gonna push forward. So I kind of leave that up on the athlete to kind of make that decision. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think also because I think, like we were saying before, with the style of play, how everybody's playing like a guard and how they're really able to do all the positions, I think that also plays a part into why people might be getting more hurt because of they're doing a lot more and they're covering different areas within the court. So the ball's moving around a lot more. People are doing more and more like dribbling moves and different things like that, cutting around. And so I think because the floor is more spread out, I think that's more floor to cover. I think I saw some other analysts been saying that. So I think as the game evolves, we're seeing more people do more things within the game. I think that'll probably cause more injuries. But I think, like you're saying, as long as you're trying your best to stay in shape and really just being proactive instead of reactive to different things and trying to take care of your body, I think that'll be the most important thing to kind of still keep yourself together as you move forward along with your professional career in any sport.
What would be your message to the kid out there who worked their whole life to be a part of a professional league organization, but unfortunately, due to injuries or unforeseen circumstances, they weren't able to achieve that goal? What would your message be to him as far as the next steps and what he should be doing in his life?
Yeah, I would say just first saying it's a part of the game and in life. So nobody's, I guess people have been able to have gone through it before. So you're going to see them. It's a very unfortunate, but I think that's because we're all humans and we're not robots. We're going to have people that might have those career-ending injuries or people that might their bodies not be able to hold up to play for a long period of time. So I think the main thing is saying, okay, even though it might not happen for you, I think there's different ways you can get involved in the game if you want to still do that. As maybe it might be coaching, maybe it might be player development, different things like that. There's a way I think for you to still be close to the game and still kind of see and get a firsthand experience of being a part of that sport. But I think as long as you have that, and I think really just got to hope for the best because a lot of things are kind of out of our control. So I would say just really just maybe if it's not directly playing, trying to find ways to still be close to the game. And if you have any other interest, trying to take pride and really focus on that. But I think, yeah, overall, it's kind of really out of your control and really just trying to do the best you can to stay healthy. If it is a situation where it's career ending, where you can't play that sport anymore, I think there's ways you can still be close to the sport and still leave an impact on the game.
Yeah, I would agree. The only part I would add, I would say that anything that you do, I think the best way to do is kind of to make a plan. I know that, the cliche is kind of make a plan to see God laugh, but I think that you have to look at any field that you're in and look at the trajectory that you're in, whether that's music, entertainment. You can't do that job forever. So the average kind of lifespans of WNBA player, I don't have the number, or the NBA players, I don't have the numbers here, but I'm guessing maybe around like, you correct me if I'm wrong, Jabisky, maybe like, maybe 5 years, maybe at that, so to speak. So I think that best case scenario, if you come out the league and you're 20 and maybe you're 25, just look at what you want to be doing with your life when you're 30, 35 and 40, because I think that a lot of times when people get in certain career fields, they think that the money is going to last forever. So just always have a plan in your mind how you want to execute post athlete, post music, post entertainment career. Because I think that once you kind of have that idea of kind of what you want to do after, just in case the goal doesn't work out, I think you'll be better for your future.
Mm-hmm.
So if the average lifespan is kind of like 4.5 years for an average NBA kind of field, you got to look at the math on that. You have to look at from the time the child was young, let's say, and when do you get drafted again? Probably like with 18, 19? No, that's high school.
Yeah, between for NBA probably between 19 and 22.
Okay, so you give something your life for almost 19 years. You're going to be in the league for 4.5 years. So let's just round that off and then say what? We'll say 24, kind of 24 going on 25. If you're out the league by 25, that's still a long life ahead of you. So you just kind of have to make a goal and a plan to see how you want to execute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely finding your passions outside the court. I think now, especially with the resources we've seen in just past examples, a lot of players are doing things off the court, a lot of business moves off the court already, even at the start of their careers. Usually you will see towards the end, people start to think about life after basketball, but now people are saying for any sport, thinking about life after that sport while they're playing in their careers. I think like you were saying, having the wise investments and saving, putting aside money so that after you're done, you still have something, but also you have something planned out to where you can see a future career, a future path down a different road once you retire from that sport. So I think, yeah, it's definitely important to think of things while you're playing so that, God forbid, if things do change drastically or you have a plan ready, set in stone.
For the kid that's watching at home, whether it's music, entertainment, or athletes, what if they have the perspective that there is no option two? This is the only option I have, and I'm putting all my chips in on being an athlete, an entertainer, a musician, or whatever goal they have. What would your perspective be to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as you could put your all into it, but also just have just some things in the back of your mind. I think as long as I think you can live with, okay, I gave it my all, and if things don't work out, then you can do it. But I think as long as you have, got to save yourself enough time or enough money to where if things do go wrong, you still have enough time financially to pivot to something else. So I think it's definitely important to give your all to the thing that you're trying to achieve. But I think also it's fine to have something in the back of your mind just in case if things didn't go well or things just outside the sport to do. I think that'll be very key.
Well said. I would definitely say all good things come to an end, and I think that life happens to you, but how you respond to it is what separates the people. So I think just always having the appropriate response to the challenges that life brings is what kind of separates everybody and what kind of separates the men from the boys, so to speak. So just always just being just mindful and cognizant of the area and the position that you take up in life. So yeah.
Thank you again for tuning in. This is going to wrap up this week's episode of Timpin Salone. We thank you continuously for your continued support. Make sure you continue to follow us. Our Instagram is @Vagio.production, YouTube Vagio Production. You can check out our website, www.vagio.com. Q, do you have any final words?
Fellas, make good decisions.
All righty. Yep.
Have a
Let's end it off. Let's end it right there. Yeah. Thank you again. Stay blessed and have a wonderful and Vagio day.